Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
And good Saturday afternoon out there, everyone, and welcome in to your number one source for Native American television news. It's Native News Today. I'm your host, Jason Salzman. Joined today in a different set. We are in the Mvskoke Media newsroom, as you can see, because I wanted to bring in our manager here at Mvskoke Media, Mr. Sterling Cosper. Almost called you editor. Sorry, it's a bad habit. That's what I've called you for the last, 2 years?
I still keep it in my heart, sir. That's
good,
all right.
good. Well, manager now. New digs look like they're treating you well, but also taking care of a little business today and wanting to bring you in, actually, because we wanted to get out to our audience on the television airwaves that we are looking for your replacement permanently. Right now, Jessica McBride, who will be with her later, doing a great job in the interim. But we are looking for a permanent replacement as the editor of the Mvskoke Nation News. I wanted to bring you on and talk a little bit about that. Sterling, what is it that we're actually looking for here at Mvskoke Media?
Well, this has been my top priority stepping into this position, is making sure that my previous job is handled properly. And while I'll say it's flattering that it's been such a challenge, it's been a challenge that we need to settle here pretty soon. Right. Jessica is going to be on here later today talking about all we have going on with news. And, well, you just need a proper structure and a full-time editor to handle that kind of intake. Yeah. What I can say is some of the challenges about filling this position are we are looking for giving citizen preference. It is also not an entry-level position. There's really a combination of skills of both journalism and design work that you don't find tailor-made in a lot of industry professionals. So. Right now, we're looking for, it seems like a unicorn at this point, but if someone out there knows of anyone that might fit those qualifications, knows design software, Adobe InDesign, knows AP Style, and has a little bit of background in journalism, or preferably 3 to 5 years more, please send them our way. Yeah. My number is 918-732-7697, and you can go to our website and find all of our contact information at mvskokemedia.com.
Just to take a second to talk about the uniqueness of our situation here at Mvskoke Media, as you said, it's a little difficult to find because, yes, not only do we have to look for Mvskoke Creek Nation citizen preference, then it's tribal citizen preference, then it's just who we can find, but also you're looking at let's just take anywhere else in the world, a regular newspaper operation. Your editor's really not going to be doing a lot of layout and design. A lot of these big newspapers have an entire layout and design organization inside of the newspaper. Yep. So what you have at the Oklahoman or the Tulsa World are essentially small little companies within an entire operation. Here, we really wear a lot of different hats. A lot of the stories that you see that we produce every week, I'm doing them in addition to hosting and everything like that, and doing a lot of the voiceover work. Crossing in with the paper as well, doing a little bit of writing. But that's also what's very rewarding about this place as well, I would say.
Yeah, and right now we're getting, actually some people may have noticed an improvement, and I'll go ahead and concede that myself as the person that used to design the paper. When we let Mark Hill has been working with Jessica on the design end to fill in while we're looking for filling for this position. Yeah. And he's done great work, but he's also a supervisor here and he has a lot of other duties. So we probably expect to keep him involved in some capacity, but we're looking to bring in someone that can at least help alleviate some of that work for him.
Yeah. And it's a great place to work, actually, because we are involved in news. So it's, kind of fly by the day. We're having things happen and we're covering. It's a really rewarding if you are a journalist, it's a rewarding atmosphere, I would say, because we just got the new, relatively new still, status as an independent statutory agency. So it has turned us more into a news-based outfit rather than just getting out, information, flyers, announcements, things like that.
Yeah, to be honest, this is the best time to be hired on in a position like that in Mvskoke Media. There's no question. I mean, the sky's the limit, and really whoever comes in with that structure is going to be looking to help us go to the next level and riding there with us. So it's an outstanding opportunity. As always, the tribe has excellent benefits, and it's an opportunity to come in and serve your people in a very important capacity. I think communication combined with all the important services we offer is also one of the most important services in tandem with that.
Well said. And you have a chance to not only build yourself professionally, but also add to the already great reputation of the Mvskoke Nation News award winner, Elias Boudinot award winner from NAJA, also the award from the Carter Bradley Award from the Society of Professional Journalists this last year. Had to get those in there because I do want people to know that they're coming to an organization that takes their jobs and their profession very seriously, and love to have you on with that. Well, Sterling, just as we always do every week here on Native News Today at Mvskoke Media, business as usual, and we are going out there obtaining the interviews, the information, and the stories that our citizens want to hear. Specifically now, as we talk about the change in administration at the Mvskoke Creek Nation, this being the second year now of the Floyd administration, recently had a change in administration at the leadership level in the city of Tulsa with Mayor Dewey Bartlett, who was certainly somebody that was he was present at a lot of Mvskoke Creek Nation events, things like that. You would see him at Council Oaks. He now moves on, and he is replaced with G.T. Bynum, new mayor, and certainly has a mayor background. He has family that was mayor, Bill of Fortune, also the original G.T. Bynum, both held the mayor's office and related to G.T., of course. And so he comes into the mayor's office in the city of Tulsa at an opportunity where it's never been greater, really, to work with the Mvskoke Creek Nation. The city of Tulsa itself, the converging point of 3 different Native American tribes. So we wanted to ask him some of these pertinent questions that, as it involves working with Native American tribes in your city's boundary, especially the Mvskoke Creek Nation, with lots of development going on, things about the river. We had to ask all these questions, and we were so glad to be able to be granted some time at City Hall recently with new Tulsa Mayor G.T. Bynum, and it's here for you now on Native News Today. Mayor, you know, the city of Tulsa and the history here is Mvskoke Creek Nation history.
Yes.
We talk about the formation of Tulsi Town and the Lojaboga people, but over the years, that relationship has been modernized, and we are here today. Can you talk a little bit about what you see in that relationship and the opportunities that it presents?
Oh, sure. You know, my family has been here since the 1870s. I'm the 5th generation of my family to live here, and my kids are the 6th. And it's cool to think about, you know, our family's history here is very much intertwined with the Mvskoke Creek Nation's growth here. I have pictures that my great-grandfather, the first G.T. Bynum, took when he was a kid playing stickball with Creek Indian children, probably around where this building stands today, which would have been a field back then. And now my kids are going to grow up seeing just the tremendous economic vitality of the nation here in Tulsa. It's fascinating to see how that growth in our city has occurred over time. But for me, you know, as the mayor now and looking at that, I just view it as a tremendous opportunity for us. We're very lucky. I always think about what are the things that we have in Tulsa that differentiate us from our competitors around the country and around the world. And I think the fact that we're rooted in Native America here really gives us a differentiating quality versus other cities around the country and around the world.
Yeah, because you look at Tulsa and just the land itself, 3 tribes converge here in the
That's
city.
exactly right. And you know, those are tribes that were have been here for a long time. They're not going to close up shop and move to Texas, as Tom Cole likes to say. You know, they are here and investing in our community and growing here. And so it's exciting to see, and it's very important to me that we as a city have a good working relationship with the Mvskoke Creek Nation. One of the first meetings I scheduled after I got elected was for my Deputy Mayor Michael Junk and my Chief of Staff Jack Blair, who's a former Assistant Attorney General for the Mvskoke Creek Nation, for the 3 of us to go meet with Chief Floyd and Speaker Tiger and talk about what are the things that we can be doing to work together to advance this region and this community.
Yeah, there's actually a couple of things I was wanting to cover with you.
Sure.
One, have you had communication with? I mean, you did, but also the native, I guess you could say, who on your staff, a part of your team that realizes those relationships and how to foster them.
Yes, and I told, you know, my Deputy Mayor Michael Junk, he spent over a decade working in the U.S. Senate, most recently for Senator Inhofe as his number 2 guy here in the state. And his job is to really identify ways that the city of Tulsa can work better with the federal government, with the state government, and with tribal governments. But then also to have my Chief of Staff really coming from the Mvskoke Creek Nation is a huge benefit for us in understanding the dynamics and the opportunities there. You know, when we went to meet with Chief Floyd and Speaker Tiger, Jack was saying, boy, you know, when I worked here, we didn't have half of these buildings. This is great.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of development.
There's been a lot of growth.
Yeah, a lot of things to talk about, obviously. A lot of opportunities to partner.
Absolutely.
One such opportunity that has actually been in the news, people have talked about with the city of Tulsa, has been talk of low water dams, the river development.
Yeah.
And Creek Nation has actually been a part of that too.
Oh,
Can you
sure.
talk about where that is now and what you've heard from them, if you've heard anything?
Yes, so we spent 3 years putting together a program for our voters to consider here in Tulsa and in Jenks through Vision to build 2 low water dams in the Arkansas River. One of them on the northern end, starting at the dam itself, would be at about 29th Street and the river, creating a lake that's about 3 to 4 miles in length, moving to the north. And that's entirely within the city limits of Tulsa. So voters have voted on that in April, approved it, and it will be under construction here over the next several years. The southern dam would be at about 103rd and Riverside Drive, and so about 2/3 of the land around that is in the city limits of Tulsa, and so the citizens of Tulsa approved funding 2/3 of that construction cost. And then the remainder of it is kind of divided between the city of Jenks and the Mvskoke Creek Nation. And so the city of Jenks, their voters approved it as well. And now it's really up to the Mvskoke Creek Nation to make their decision. But as I told Chief Floyd and Speaker Tiger, you know, we took 3 years to evaluate this and to make sure it was the right thing to do before asking our citizens to vote on it. So there's no rush for the leadership of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. I understand they need to take their time in evaluating whether or not it's a good investment for them or not. Right. You know, we had the previous chief and his designee were part of this group that put it together, but I understand we have a new chief, and he and his administration deserve the time to weigh the pros and cons and look at what are all the opportunities and the needs they have in front of them as a government and determine where the best priority for funding is. So we'll wait and see, but it's entirely up to them.
Yeah. And we talk about the changeover administration with us and you all here, City of Tulsa. It seems as though, as you've been saying, that's been sort of smooth as far as you reaching out, the Creek Nation reciprocating, and you having good dialogue with Chief Floyd now.
Oh, sure. I think that's something both Mayor Bartlett, my predecessor, and I both recognize how important that relationship is. So that was never up for debate between us. There were a lot of things we agreed on, a few important things we disagreed on, but the importance of having a good working relationship between the City of Tulsa and the Mvskoke Creek Nation was one of those we entirely agreed on.
Whenever you are discussing decisions such as that, I imagine that the tribe's point of view does come up a lot, and it is a priority in those meetings.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, we approach it from a tremendous point of respect and recognizing that you know, the Mvskoke Creek Nation has a government that was elected by its citizens to evaluate what's in their best interest, just as we have in Tulsa or the folks in Jinx do. And we respect people needing to have their time to weigh pros and cons on anything, whether it's the low water dam or whether it's road projects or healthcare infrastructure. Each of us have a responsibility to do what's in the best interest of our government, and I totally respect and understand the need for people to take whatever time they need to make those decisions. That was one of the hallmarks for us. When we started the process on the low water dams, we thought it was going to take 6 months. But we said at the beginning, we're not going to set an artificial deadline here. We're going to take our time, and however long it takes to get it right, we'll take that. And it ended up taking 3 years before we put it on the ballot for the citizens to vote on. And I would say the exact same applies for the Mvskoke Creek Nation. You know, they need whatever time they need to evaluate it, they should have.
It may take a few years before the Creek Nation is able to, and we have, you know, Chief Lloyd has been on record saying it is not part of the plans right now. It will be something that will have to wait. If that day comes that where you have waited and you do need an answer and they can't, what would be the way to go then? Well,
and we were very upfront with our citizens in saying in Tulsa before the vote and in Jinx before their vote that here's what we're asking our citizens to fund. Here's what the folks in Jinx are asking their citizens to fund. And if we can't get the three stakeholders in agreement, then there isn't a dam. So if it had failed in Tulsa, then obviously there wouldn't be a dam. If it had failed in Jinx, there wouldn't be a dam. Fortunately, our citizens in both of those communities approved it. But if the Mvskoke Creek Nation decides that, you know what, we have a lot of needs right now throughout the nation, and this is just not in the cards for us right now, then we built in a kind of an alternative where the funds that would have gone for that dam from the City of Tulsa would be reallocated to endow our other dam and the lake and its maintenance and other projects within Vision. So we provided for in our vote the alternatives there, depending on, you know, and not just the Mvskoke Creek Nation, as a matter of fact. If it had failed in Jinx, same thing. Right. Our funds would have gone, instead of going to that dam, it would have gone to endow the other dam and to fund other Vision projects.
Would it be fair to say that this project needs the Mvskoke Creek Nation?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, that's what we asked our citizens when they voted in favor of it. That was the understanding, is that you would have these three stakeholders agreeing to fund it, and if any one of the three said they couldn't do it, then it just wouldn't be built. And that's not hard feelings, that's a recognition of the economic realities that each of us face. And we just each have different time frames under which we move forward with consideration of that commitment. But I'll say, you know, one thing that, you know, bothers me a bit, there are so many opportunities for the City of Tulsa and the Mvskoke Creek Nation to be working together. We spend a lot of time talking about the low water dam just because that's been in the news here a lot over the last several years. But I'm going to ribbon cutting today at the casino. That's going to be a tremendous economic driver for this community. It's going to bring people from a tourism standpoint to Tulsa. It's going to create jobs here in Tulsa. We had excellent conversations between the chief and the speaker and I on opportunities for us relative to highway and infrastructure funding projects. I think there's a great opportunity for us to partner with the federal government on some of those projects as well. So there are a lot of things, regardless of what decision is made on the low water dam, that we're going to need to be working together on moving forward.
Cross-deputation of law enforcement as well.
Yes, no, that's been a big one. But I mean, there's so much opportunity for us to grow as a community if we're working together. If it's on the low water dam, I personally think that's a win-win for everybody. But it can also be on highway projects. It can be on economic development projects. I think there's so many exciting opportunities for us moving ahead. I'm just eager to get moving on them.
Talk about the uniqueness of, as we talked about earlier, the three tribes converging and the opportunities that presents.
The dynamic is really interesting for us because we have three tribal governments that intersect here in Tulsa. That creates really interesting opportunities. You know, we are in discussions with the Cherokee Nation on opportunities in North Tulsa. We're in discussions with the Osage Nation on economic development opportunities in the northwest part of the city. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we've been in discussion with the Mvskoke Creek Nation on opportunities in so much of the city, a lot of it focused along the river, but in other parts of the city as well. So to me, what it presents, you know, instead of us just being a community that happens to be located within one tribal government's boundaries, having three creates a lot of opportunities for us for collaboration that we wouldn't have otherwise. So I really view it as a huge asset for us.
What is it that you would like Mvskoke Creek citizens that of course live, work, pay taxes in this city and are and around this city to know about you as mayor and going forward in that relationship?
My hope is that they'll understand that I'm a product of this community. My family is a product of this community, and we have grown in this community for 140 years now, side by side with Mvskoke Creek citizens. And so I'm just excited about the opportunity to look at, in the 21st century, what can we do working together to grow this city and to create great opportunity for people in both governments. You know, in my previous line of work, I handled federal government affairs for a number of communities here in Oklahoma. One of those was Miami, Oklahoma, which actually has 7 tribal governments intersecting there. And that was a huge asset for the city of Miami. I mean, whether it was a bridge project that went right into their major college there that we partnered with the Ottawa tribe on, or economic development projects that we partnered with the other tribes on. I view that was a great opportunity for me in working with the city of Miami and seeing all the ways that a city that knows how to work with tribal governments can really work well to see and get ideas on what we can do here in Tulsa. It was a great opportunity experience for me, and I hope to replicate it here.
Well, Mayor Bynum, certainly want to thank you for your time today and wish you well in your first term here as it gets started and kicked off in Tulsa, and hope to see great things for the city of Tulsa, Mvskoke Creek Nation, with you at the reins of the city here.
Thank you. Hope to have you back here soon.
Great. All right, there you have new mayor of Tulsa, G.T. Bynum, sitting with us here at Mvskoke Media. And I am now joined in the newsroom with our interim editor of the Mvskoke Nation News, Miss Jessica McBride. Jessica, you were there with me for the mayor's interview. Just aside from what we saw, some of your takeaways from that interview.
I thought it was a real good interview. You know, he kind of talked about how he planned to work with the Creek Nation, and also talked about the dam issue, the Arkansas River dams.
Yeah, and that's something that we knew from prior news headlines and things that were talked about with the dam that the citizens would want to know about or would want to hear from him and get his input on that. So I want to thank him again, and I'll be looking forward to all the news that comes out of the tribe and the city working together here in the next few years. So Jessica, wanted to bring you on to talk about some of the things we have going on at Mvskoke Media right now, some of the things that we're pursuing, some of the leads that we have going on with our stories, and always want to push everybody to mvskokemedia.com, point you in that direction to see what we have up. Right now, our big story on there is the case with Barney Ingram as citizen against the Mvskoke Creek Nation, having to deal with his house. Jessica, where are we at in our coverage of that?
Well, Judge Bigler gave a ruling on the case, and he ruled that the suit was dismissed due to tribal sovereignty. You can see that story and all of the details there at mvskokemedia.com. We've also included the court documents, so if you're that nerdy person that wants to really get in there and understand what's going on, all of Judge Bigler's comments and stuff is there.
Right, and there's a copy of the order, as you can see here. You can read through those documents, everything like that if you want to. And as you said, going through the story, all the information is there, as well as down here, as I'm referencing, all of those things that you said that would help people to keep coverage up to this point of what we've provided on this story. So also, to get back to that just a little bit, next week we'll be wanting to talk with Mr. Ingram. He should be coming in studio. I wanted to get him this week, but he's a little bit under the weather, so talked to him, and we're trying for next week. So we should tentatively it's been scheduled. We should have it next week, so we'll get a little bit more on that. Jessica, moving on, we actually received a letter from a citizen. But it's not just any citizen. The former principal chief of the Mvskoke Creek Nation, A.D. Ellis, actually physically brought in a letter that he had written to give to us at Mvskoke Media for inclusion in the Mvskoke Nation News, having to deal with his take on this whole indoor stomp dance, exhibition stomp dance type of issue that we've had here at the tribe that we've actually covered.
It's a really big issue from what we understand from citizens. We've heard a lot of opinions on it, and it's good to have, an opinion piece every once in a while, especially from the former principal chief. That letter will be published in the Mvskoke Nation News, January 15th edition.
Look forward in that edition of the Mvskoke Nation News. Also, we had some news to take care of here ourselves. We never like to be in the news. We actually kind of were a little bit on this deal with the Margaritaville opening at the resort. We actually didn't get the invite. I guess ours got lost in the mail, but to go up and cover the ribbon cutting there, actually had some citizens talking about that, and that's actually led to some dialogue, some conversation on where we go in the future with communicating with the administrative office.
Right, and we've reached out to the appropriate parties, and so we're going to bring you the coverage that we missed on the opening of the hotel, and hopefully the other events that they're going to have on the other openings.
Yeah, and before we leave you, Mvskoke Radio, big interview today with Principal Chief James Floyd. Gary Fife had him for an hour, so that's all going to be available soon. We talked with Gary. He will be uploading soon. I don't have an exact date, but it will be in the next few days, he says, on the YouTube channel for Mvskoke Radio. So as I always tell you before we leave you, go to our site, mvskokemedia.com. Also, go check out all of our social media outlets. Mvskoke Nation News is on Facebook, on Twitter, as well as Native News Today on both. Just go on and search both names on any of those outlets. Also, Mvskoke Media on Facebook, Mvskoke Media on Snapchat, Instagram, all out there. We've got some big contests coming up, so we want people to stay in tune with our social media outlets. We want to hear from you, the citizens. We are giving back to you the information that you request, that you demand, and so for us, it's all about you folks and interacting with you on a daily basis. What better to do that than our social media outlets? Jessica McBride, our interim editor of the Mvskoke Nation News, want to thank her for being with me here in the newsroom. Also, manager Sterling Cosper and Jared Moore, Devony Luxinger, all the people that made Native News Today happen this week. We want to thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time.